Alfonso Cahero, A Journey into Finance History. Chapter 37, World War I and War Bonds, 1914-1918. The turn of the 20th century brought both prosperity and instability to the United States. As the country embraced industrialization and urbanization, its economy surged forward, but with rapid growth came vulnerabilities. The nation was plagued by financial panics, including the Panic of 1907, which shook the confidence of investors and ordinary citizens alike. Banks collapsed, businesses faltered, and unemployment soared. The need for a stable and reliable banking system became increasingly apparent. In the aftermath of the Panic of 1907, calls for banking reform echoed across the country. Leaders in government, finance, and academia recognized that the existing system was ill-equipped to deal with the challenges of a modern economy. They argued for a central authority that could oversee the nation's banking system, regulate the flow of money, and prevent future crises. The idea gained traction, drawing support from both Republicans and Democrats, as well as from a diverse array of interest groups. Among those who championed banking reform were figures like Senator Nelson Aldrich and banker Paul Warburg. They understood that the key to economic stability lay in the creation of a central banking system, similar to those already in place in Europe. Despite their differing backgrounds and perspectives, these visionaries shared a common goal: to establish an institution that could serve the interests of the entire nation, rather than just a select few. With the support of President Woodrow Wilson, they set out to craft a plan for the Federal Reserve. Creating a central banking system for the United States was no small task. It required careful consideration of the country's unique economic and political landscape. Under the guidance of Senator Aldrich, a group of experts known as the National Monetary Commission was tasked with studying existing banking systems and formulating recommendations for reform. Over the course of several years, they deliberated on the structure, powers, and responsibilities of the proposed Federal Reserve. After much debate and negotiation, the Federal Reserve Act was finally introduced in Congress in 1913. The bill represented a compromise between competing interests, balancing the need for centralization with concerns about maintaining regional autonomy. It called for the establishment of a system of regional reserve banks, each with its own board of directors, as well as a central governing body in Washington, D.C. Known as the Federal Reserve Board, this body would oversee the entire system and set monetary policy for the nation. The road to passage of the Federal Reserve Act was not without its obstacles. Powerful interests, including some bankers and politicians, opposed the creation of a central banking system, fearing it would undermine their influence and autonomy. Others worried about potential government overreach and the concentration of power in the hands of a few individuals. Despite these challenges, supporters of the bill rallied behind it, arguing that the benefits of a centralized banking system far outweighed the risks. On December 23, 1913, President Woodrow Wilson signed the Federal Reserve Act into law, marking a pivotal moment in American economic history. With the stroke of a pen, the United States joined the ranks of countries with central banking systems, ushering in a new era of financial stability and regulation. The creation of the Federal Reserve was hailed as a triumph of pragmatism and cooperation, a testament to the ability of government to address pressing social and economic challenges. The Federal Reserve was designed to be a decentralized yet unified system, with multiple layers of governance and decision-making. At its core were 12 regional reserve banks, located in major cities across the country. Each reserve bank was responsible for overseeing the banking operations within its district, as well as conducting monetary policy in collaboration with the Federal Reserve Board in Washington, D.C. This structure ensured that the needs of different regions could be taken into account, while also allowing for coordinated action on a national scale. The Federal Reserve was granted a wide range of powers and responsibilities under the Federal Reserve Act. Its primary functions included regulating the supply of money and credit in the economy, supervising and regulating banks, and providing financial services to the government and financial institutions. Additionally, the Federal Reserve was charged with promoting stable prices, full employment, and sustainable economic growth, making it one of the most powerful and influential institutions in the country. In its early years, the Federal Reserve faced a number of challenges as it sought to establish itself and fulfill its mandate. One of its first tests came during World War I, when it was called upon to help finance the war effort and stabilize the economy in the face of inflation and market disruptions. Despite some missteps and criticisms, the Federal Reserve proved its worth, successfully managing the nation's monetary policy and supporting the war effort. The true test of the Federal Reserve came with the onset of the Great Depression in the 1930s. As the economy spiraled into freefall, millions of Americans lost their jobs, homes, and savings. The Federal Reserve struggled to respond effectively, at times exacerbating rather than alleviating the crisis. Its failure to act decisively to stem the tide of bank failures and deflation contributed to the severity and duration of the Depression, leading to calls for reform and restructuring. In the aftermath of the Great Depression, the Federal Reserve underwent significant changes aimed at strengthening its ability to safeguard the economy and prevent future crises. The Banking Act of 1935, also known as the Banking Act of 1933, expanded the Federal Reserve's powers and clarified its role in regulating the banking industry. It also established the Federal Open Market Committee, FOMC, which is responsible for setting monetary policy and managing the money supply. Since its inception, the Federal Reserve has continued to evolve in response to changing economic conditions and financial markets. It has faced numerous challenges, including inflation, recessions, and financial crises, each requiring it to adapt its policies and practices to meet the needs of the time. Over the years, the Federal Reserve has introduced new tools and techniques for conducting monetary policy, such as quantitative easing and forward guidance, to address emerging threats to the economy. Despite its many successes, the Federal Reserve has also been the subject of criticism and controversy throughout its history. Some argue that it wields too much power and operates too independently of democratic oversight, while others question its effectiveness in achieving its stated goals of price stability and full employment. In recent years, debates over the Federal Reserve's role and responsibilities have become increasingly politicized, reflecting deeper divisions within American society. As the Federal Reserve approaches its second century of existence, its legacy is a complex and contested one. While it has undoubtedly played a central role in shaping the course of American economic history, its impact has been both positive and negative. It has helped to stabilize the economy, mitigate financial crises, and promote sustainable growth, but it has also faced criticism for its failures and shortcomings. Ultimately, the story of the Federal Reserve is one of ongoing struggle and adaptation as it continues to navigate the ever-changing